What's up, everyone? My name's Lars, and I've been rank 1 multiple times in the most prominent game mode in Northgard. And today I want to introduce you both to the multiplayer world as well as the ranked system specifically. So buckle your seatbelts, stay tuned, and let's go. Let's talk about multiplayer and ranked in Northgard. If you want to test your skills against other players, there are 3 different modes. 1v1 duels, 8-player FFAs, and 2v2 and 3v3 team games. You can find the games on 3 different servers: Europe, Asia, and North America. And most games can likely be found on the European server. In general, multiplayer is just faster paced than single player, or co-op conquest or Bifrost missions for that matter. The goal is not necessarily to survive and build up an OP base, but to have your enemies die faster than you. FFA games and 1v1s are on the slower side, while 2v2s and 3v3s are the fastest game modes. If you don't mind playing other modes, you can multi-queue simultaneously for all the different modes all together to find a game faster as well. Let's talk about some differences between the ranked modes next. FFA and duel modes have hidden picks, while team games have a draft phase in which you see the enemy clan picks. FFA is played with 8 players who all fight amongst each other on a large map. If your neighbor is not an aggressive eagle or snake, the clans are allowed to scale really well. Watch out for passive win cons though, as a sneaky trade win and a sneaky lore win could end the game passively. And even though you're on your own, don't forget to communicate with each other, as you don't want to fight against 3 or 4 players all by yourself. Diplomacy is much more important than you might think in FFA. For 1v1s, picking a self-sustaining independent clan like a Hippogriff, Stoat or Eagle is the best. The map is very small and therefore scouting the middle is easier and faster. And generally it's easier to defend than to attack in this mode. Let's talk about the most played game mode and the most complex one in Northgard: 3v3 team games. The ultimate goal is to get coins quickly to convert more army faster than the enemy. That's why timings and being on the same page as your team are very important. If you don't team up with 1 or 2 of your premates, you could use the chat to communicate with your team. If you found a game and you are in the lobby, you have basically 2 goals to discuss. First, which timing do you want to play? And second, who's going to fill which role? Regarding the timing, there are basically 3 different multiplayer timings that you could play for: 801, an 801 defend, or the classic 802, with the numbers referring to the 2nd and 3rd year in-game. If a team wants to go 801, that means that it wants to rush, so no time for greedy setups with upgrades. It's going to be all Kölns and Warband. For the 801 defend, it is usually played with a hypercarry in the back, with 2 clans setting up to defend a rush in 801, and 802 is the classic normal way to play, as each team goes for upgrades and scaling before converting all the army and warband. So the question is, what is a good team composition? A classic team composition consists of a clear clan, such as a wolf, hounds, eagle or lynx, and a scout clan, such as the owl or raven. The third pick is very flexible. It could either be a hypercarry or a flexible clan. Hypercarries are lion, hippogriff, ox or rat, while some examples for flexible clans are the goat, squirrel, stag, boar and a horse. Clear clans dictate the tempo of the game. They get resources on top of the military XP of killing units. But in order to kill the units, they have to see all the tiles, so it's very important to have a good scouting clan on top of having a clear clan. As 3v3 team games are played on a large symmetrical map, there are maps where you can attack more easily and there are maps where attacking is harder. That's depending on the map generation. You could say that, generally speaking, it's the most important to know how to defend an 801 rush and how to play an 801 rush in ranked multiplayer. So in the next minute, I'm going to talk about how you're going to identify a rush and what you have to do once you identify a rush. So if you want to know if you're going to get rushed or not, there are literally 3 things that you can do. First of all, you can look at the clan compositions in lobby. If you know that you're up against a snake, hounds and raven, that comp is very rushy, while Southern Kingdom clans usually mean that you're not going to encounter a rush. Another indicator is low fame in-game. If a clan has very little fame in game, that usually means that they have either no upgrades or less tiles. So if you see someone having only 120 fame in 801, a rush is very likely. A third possible way to identify a rush is to look at the map and to scout early to see the setup of the enemy. If the enemy doesn't have any upgrades in middle 801 with at least 6 war camps, you're about to get rushed. If you're about to get rushed, here's what you need to do. The first tip is to buy buffer tiles. The more tiles the enemy has to decolonize in order to reach your base, the longer he takes to rush. The second tip is to buy connectors to allies. If you have a connector to your allies can even bring all of their population and you can defend your tile together with the population of your allies. The third tip is to tower important choke points, with the quote-unquote most important choke point being your base. The tower gives flat DPS and it's basically a bonus unit that is very hard to kill. The fourth tip is to build camps and defend with both warband and population. If you even have 130 coins, it's value to just build 2 camps and just convert as much warband as you can. And the final tip will be to pick defensive strategy if you already picked weaponsmith in the middle lore tree, as that lore increases your civilians attack and your defense towers resistance by 30%. By the way, the tempo of the 801 as well as your team also depends on the neutrals. So if the map has only kobolds and Merkalfar, that's a strong incentive to rush, as the rushing team with army gets an additional resource boost out of killing the neutrals. As you might have guessed, the strongest and best win condition is domination. Most matches in multiplayer, especially in ranked, are decided by domination. But there are passive win conditions that you'll need to be aware of as well. The strongest passive win condition is trade, which is basically tackled by either trading yourself or attacking early. So if you see that the enemy is trade winning, I highly recommend just going for the 801 rush. The other win condition that you have to be aware of is a fame win, which is usually accumulated passively or by a stag. The lore win in late game, which basically just forces you to attack the tile with the monument of the gods, and some middle win conditions and the scroll meal can be scary, but they usually aren't. So, to sum it up, you have to know the strengths of the clan that you want to pick and the compositions for 3v3. And since you need to know how to play 801 and 802, you'll have to know at least 2 build orders for the clan that you want to pick. In all the game modes, watch out for passive win conditions and 801 rushes, and always communicate with your team in team games. That's it for me for today. Hopefully that short guide will help you on the multiplayer landscape of Northgard. Don't get disheartened by getting rushed 801 in your first matches, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the multiplayer battlefield. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in high-level gameplay and specific clan guides regarding Northgard, you can always check out my channel for more information.